It's my annual Happy New Year's video. It's where I take a break from my break from YouTube to wish you all a Happy New Year and hope that all of your hopes and dreams come true. Um, it has been a very strange year. 2024 was, oh my. It was exhilarating, it was frightening, it was fun, it was terrifying, it was rejuvenating, it was exhausting, it was good, it was bad, it was a mishmash of an amalgam of different emotions and fears and stuff. The good news is that I'm now looking forward actually to 2025 and seeing what's next for me. I don't know what's next for this channel. I don't know. I can't really say. Um, I thought I was going to start doing the Finnish language videos more often, but as I've come to discover, I would much rather learn more Finnish myself before I start making all sorts of videos. I know, and I even said that teaching is a good way to reinforce what you learned, and it really is, but I've just been throwing myself into this language stuff, and that is actually a goal of mine for 2025 is to become much better than I already am at Finnish, and I'm on the path to that. I have the tools and the resources. I made it back into integration training, so I remember I said in that video that they said I wouldn't be able to do it, but lo and behold, I'm back in it. And every single day I'm learning more. And the more I learn about Finnish and languages in general, I'm a linguistics nerd, you know, as I've come to discover. The more I read, the more I like. So it's fun. It's a lot of fucking work, but it's fun. And speaking of a lot of fucking work, 2024 was a lot of personal work for me. Maybe some of you can relate with this. If oh yeah, it was the year of my divorce. Yeah, 2024 was the year of divorce, and it was the most unconventional breakup of my entire life, and it has taught me a lot. Maybe that's a bit cliche. I know that a big event teaches you a lot, but I've never been the kind of person who's taken a lot of personal lessons from big traumatic events in my life. In the past 5 years, there was a lot of really great things that happened to me. And I'm thankful for so many things in that marriage. I'm thankful for that person, even in a lot of ways. But in a lot of ways, it also was traumatic. And when two people with a lot of unfaced traumas go into something as big as a marriage, it had to end. It had to. And that's like big realization number one that came after a long depression at the beginning of 2024 is that it had to end. It could have ended a little better. It could have ended a little bit more maturely. It could have ended a little bit more human-like, but the one constant in life and about life is that things end, and they don't always have to end the way that you want them to. In fact, most of the times they're not going to end the way you want them to, and you just have to accept it. That took me a long time to accept that you don't always get the ending that you want, or the ending that you think you deserve, and that's okay. And I think once I came to that realization, so many other things started to unravel and unfold and reveal themselves, like the fact that I was severely codependent on this person, and I had to make some major changes to the way that I thought about interpersonal relationships. And I vowed to myself, and this is a forever vow for as long as I'm alive, I will never let another human being be responsible for my financial well-being, for my mental well-being, for my happiness, for my emotions. I am responsible for those fucking things. I am responsible solely, number one, for those things. Period. And it's a revelation that came a little bit too late, but again, you cannot have two people loaded with traumas from their past come together and expect good, great things. It's just going to explode. That's just the way it is. But unlike so many other things in my life where I just go, well, it is what it is, I've chosen to take lessons from this. And I don't want to use the even bigger cliche of it's made me a stronger, better person, because it's not necessarily just the divorce that has made me feel a little bit more confident and a little bit stronger, but it's like a combination of many things. The step groups that I've been attending, one of those things. And my inner teenager would be kicking me square in the teeth for ever even considering going to a step group. But the things that I've learned as a part of these step groups, and I'm not talking about AA, I'm not even talking about what's it called? Al-Anon. I did go to a couple Al-Anon meetings, it was okay. But like ACA and Codependence Anonymous, things like that, where people get together and they share their experiences, and it's not all jargon, and it's not all platitudes, and it's not all even, just like little, cliche bits of wisdom, but it is healing. That is ultimately the goal, especially in ACA, is healing and facing the things that you've tried to bury for so long, because that was my thing. There's so many people I've known in my life who've had traumatic experiences, okay? Like a loved one lost, or they saw something really bad, or they were abused, or they were neglected, or they were abandoned, or whatever. And I would watch them like throw themselves into their work, throw themselves into school, like find every distraction, throw themselves into a relationship. And I would be like, why? This thing isn't going to go away. Just face it. Just face the thing, and then you can heal. And I did the exact same thing. I became that person. I fulfilled a prophecy, essentially. I'm never going to be that person. Okay, maybe I didn't fulfill a prophecy. Wrong choice of words, but whatever. There were some of those along the way too, I'll tell you. But for most of 2024, except for the last half of 2020, or the last like 4 or 5 months, which have been quite good to me in a lot of ways, and in some ways bad, but I completely lost my train of thought. It's a lot. There's a lot that I'm unpacking here. You know how they say, oh, there's a lot to unpack here. Facing traumas. Oh yeah, I was running away from those, traumas the same way that I've seen so many other people do, and I've decided to now, at the tender age of 34, oh my God, face these things and to actually give them the due attention that they have deserved for so long. The attention that I wish I could have given these problems from my childhood before I ever entered any sort of relationship, much less an entire marriage, much less a marriage in a country thousands of kilometers from my home, quote unquote, which is kind of another thing I've discovered about myself. I don't really have a home necessarily. I hope that this will be my home. I don't know. There are some worries where that is concerned, I think, but this is as much my home here in Finland as any other place has been on Earth. And I've spent a lot of time here. I've integrated. I got roots and all that stuff. So if there is a home for me somewhere, I think this is probably it. But anyway, back to the other stuff. Tangent within a tangent. It's been a lot of really difficult work. And there are things that sort of reveal themselves from the mist, from the haze of repressed memories, particularly from childhood. And my fear is that some of these things are going to start revealing themselves from the past 5 or 6 years of this marriage, things that I just can't remember. Moments and events in time, especially 2020. I've got these long chunks of time that I strain my brain to try to remember some of these things. And I don't know what it was, that I was just so depressed, or I was so wrapped up in my own emotions, or so fearful, or like, I don't know, but I can't remember them. And I live in the same city where some of these things happen, and I pass by these places, and places I visited, places I know I spent a lot of time at, and I'm just like, uh. But that's a fear that's kind of worth facing, I think, because it does reveal a lot. And I would much rather face these things and do this sort of work than just keep finding distractions and letting this stuff pile up. And I'm very, very grateful, and I'm very lucky to have been shown a better way forward, to have been shown a better path, to have been presented with without judgment, without insult, without expectation, just presented alternative ways forward to improve myself and to show myself that there is a strength inside of me beyond 5 years of codependence, that I can face hard things, I can do hard things, I can have the tough conversations, I can go out of my way, I can go out of my comfort zone and do things that I never thought I could do, and face things that I never thought I could face. And finally, once and for fucking all, be primarily responsible for my emotions and for my feelings. And it still really scares me sometimes to think about it, and it makes me emotional a little bit to think about, because I'm in uncharted waters here. I've just been so used to pushing things down. And it's like, I always thought if I talk about my trauma and I talk about the things that happened to me, that will make them all better. And you can't just throw these things into the void. You can't just tell these things to somebody. You have to find a way to manage it, or else it's always just going to be there, following you around. So, yeah, 2025, I think for me, I have the goal of getting a lot better at Finnish, but I also have the goal of making further discoveries about myself and being kinder to myself, which in turn helps me be kinder to the world around me, animate and inanimate, and trying to enjoy the company of people again. I have been. Imagine that, me enjoying the company of other people, sometimes complete strangers. Yeah, right? And not accepting, the label. Okay, I don't want to say, okay, not a label, but not accepting ADHD or autism or anything as total limitations, total roadblocks in the way of developing meaningful, lasting relationships with people. They're obstacles, but they're not impassable obstacles. They're not impossible. And I'm just going to pat myself on the back and say that I am proud of myself in a lot of ways for how I've been able to pick myself up. I wasn't abandoned by this person, even though she just kind of left out of thin air. I wasn't abandoned. I wasn't just, I was presented a new way forward. And that's how I choose to see the ugliness that happens in my life. I'm being presented another way forward. I'm being given an opportunity to think, okay, where do I go from here? How do I get there? And how can I improve myself, and what can I learn? My mind is more open than it's ever been, and my ears are more open than they've ever been. And I look forward to 2025 and to see what else lies in store for me. My voice is starting to go, and I'm very tired, so I'm just going to end this video on that note. If you have goals for 2025, I hope you meet them, and I hope that if your 2024 was horrible, I hope that 2025 presents you many, many options and many ways forward. And I hope that you have the clarity and the insight to take the right ones. And that's all I got to say about that for now. Have a good day, folks.